Today's story comes from the TrueOffMyChest subreddit and was posted by Sparkolini and was titled, "My daughter turned 18 and left home 2 days later. I thought I had done everything as best I could. She always struggled with following rules, structure, plans. There had been many struggles over the years. Major ones, big things that might have broken other people, but not us. In the fall, she was focused. She wanted to be an art teacher. She applied to schools. She got accepted to her top choice. I thought things were going great. Her older brother got his associate's degree during high school and started his 3rd year of college at his chosen school this year. He graduated last year. I mentioned him just to say I thought she was on the same track. So did he. He helped her with the forms, the applications. We all cheered her on. Then about 3 months ago, things started changing. She was skipping classes, showing up late, not completing her assignments. While she had never been as dedicated to school as her brother, I'd only had minor issues before. She always performed well enough so she could continue participating in her extracurricular activities, which she dropped one by one. She started hedging on college. She wouldn't complete the paperwork. She started talking about a gap year. I was surprised, but I didn't want to push her too hard into something she wasn't ready for, especially something as big as college. So I said, no problem. We started talking about how, if she's going to be staying home, she needs to secure a full-time job and put away a certain percentage of her salary for savings. She said she felt depressed. We connected with her existing providers about it. She already had a psychiatrist, a therapist, the works. She had all the tools. She wanted to keep working at the seasonal amusement park with all her friends. It's not enough hours. It doesn't fit the plan. She hasn't wanted to learn to drive. It's not bus-friendly. I spent so much time dropping her off and picking her up last summer, I felt like I, too, worked at this amusement park. I said, sorry, no. That doesn't fit the plan you agreed to. I told her, you need to learn how to drive this summer, too, especially since you aren't going to school. She doesn't want to, says her friends will give her rides. She said that last summer, too. On her 18th birthday, she brings over a new boyfriend to meet me. I welcome him into our house. I'm so excited and happy she's opening up like this. I say hello. I introduce her dog. Oh, I know Wednesday, he says. Everyone freezes. How do you know my dog? I ask. Then the truth starts trickling out. Our world implodes. She's been sneaking him into the house through her garden window. She's been sneaking out the same way. She has a burner phone. I found 4 vapes in her room as I was cleaning it out. She had a boyfriend, man friend, really, in Mexico for over a year. It just ended a month prior. She had been telling her brother for months that she was moving to Mexico as soon as she graduated. At least that's over. The worst part was that I found 3 months' worth of her medication in her room. She just decided to stop taking it, but she lied to her doctor and me about that. She's gone to school and told them I kicked her out. She's living in a homeless shelter. She came to get some things, and she was so cold, I didn't really recognize her. No acknowledgement of what her actions did to anyone else. She wanted to take her stuff and leave without any conversation. It didn't really go well in the end. She took her stuff and left mad. I did give her the cell phone we pay for. The only requirement was she had to leave the location on. She went to prom on Saturday. She was back at the homeless shelter by curfew. Something impossible at home. But then the phone didn't move for 2 days. She can't stay at the shelter during the day. She's supposed to be at school today. All of a sudden, no one knows who I am. No one can help me. She's 18. She's an adult now. She turned 18 and she just left. I never thought I would be one of those moms. I wasn't strict. I didn't yell. I wasn't perfect, but I loved her so much. I supported her so much. I took her anywhere she asked. I got her little treats. I went to the plays, the recitals. I volunteered in the classroom. Teachers knew my name. I thought we had it pretty good, but she was a whole other person I knew nothing about. I see her making the same kind of mistakes I made at her age, and I can't stop her. I can only sit back and watch. I didn't experience this with my oldest. His birthday came and went, and nothing really changed. He left for college and told me that he knew everything I ever did was for his best interest. And he told me he was sorry he fought me sometimes because now he can see that all I ever wanted was for him to be successful and happy. He told me how much he loved and appreciated me, especially since their dad hasn't been around since they were babies. I didn't stop being his mother overnight. Not like it feels like I stopped being hers. She even took me off school notifications. So I don't know now, when she skips class, whether she went. My dad is flying in for her graduation. Her graduation dinner has been planned for months. I don't even know if we'll be invited to see it. I don't know if the dinner will even happen. I don't even know if I want to go. I feel like my world just fell apart. My youngest is 12 and watching with bated breath. I see her tiptoeing around me, trying not to make me cry, trying to be so helpful, so loving, so I don't miss her sister quite so much. But we all do. I miss the family I thought we had, the version of myself I believed in, and most of all, I miss my daughter. I miss the girl I thought she was, and I wonder if that girl ever even existed. No one told me this could happen. So I'm telling you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "You mentioned that she left her medication behind, and she hadn't taken it in 3 months. What medicine and what diagnosis has she received?" Hope replied, "I was trying to avoid giving too much of her personal information because stuff like her diagnosis and medication isn't really my information to share." Commenter 2 says, "To be honest, it sounds like maybe inside she never wanted all those things and did them to make you happy. Now, she doesn't have to, and she doesn't know what to do because she was never allowed to be her own person and figure it out. The whole college track perfect life isn't for everyone." Hope replied, "She always said she did, but maybe you're right. Maybe she really didn't. I wasn't trying to force her into anything she wasn't ready for, though. I told her she never had to go to school at all. It was always her choice. Maybe she didn't feel that way, though." Commenter 3 says, "I'm sorry to hear. I can only go by the description, and from that, you compare her to her brother a lot. Each child is entirely different, and saying you got her little things kind of reminds me of my mother. She gave me things she liked and wanted and totally failed to listen and give me what I wanted or needed. I left 2 days after finishing high school. It's been 14 years. What she wants is different from what you want for her and for what your son wants. Trying to please her by going with some cookie-cutter format will not work." Hope replied, "I agree, it could seem like that based on the post. I don't compare them to each other, though. They couldn't be more different. At one point, I told my son to stop harping on her about college so much, because what was right for him might not be right for her. I think she felt considerable pressure about college, even though I had repeatedly said if she wasn't ready, that was fine. If she didn't want a 4-year traditional college, fine. If she wanted to take a year off, fine. That I think is something all kids graduating high school feel." Opie explained more about comparing her son and daughter and playing favorites. Hope replied, "I responded to this observation in another comment. I agree it could seem like that based on the post. But I've worked really hard to avoid that particular dynamic. I don't actually compare them to each other pretty much ever. I never say things like your brother would or I wish you were more like your brother or your brother did this or did that or whatever other toxic stuff happens in that situation. They are very different. I've always known and celebrated that. I sent them to different elementary schools so they could build individual worlds and identities separate from each other. I actually told her brother to knock off pressuring her about college because what's right for him isn't necessarily what is right for her. I've really tried to support them individually as well, especially since they are so close in age. I grew up with a brother almost as close in age to me and experienced a lot of what you're describing. They were both public schools and were similarly rated. They were in our home district. I just asked for a school reassignment, and they did it. I had to facilitate some things to make it possible, but no one got a better school than the other. They were incredibly different from one another. I wanted them both to have their own environments to thrive in. They were in the same middle and high school, because that's how it works in our district. I'm not going to say the names of their schools, but if you think 2 public elementary schools in the same suburban district aren't going to be incredibly similar, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think that's what I've expressed here. I said I try to do my best, not that I did 0 wrong. I'm fully aware of some mistakes I've made, and also willing to hear about others. Some of the feedback I've received here has been very helpful. Outside perspectives are how we learn. I didn't say her brother is perfect either. I'm actually quite annoyed with him for telling her off and blocking her because it didn't help the situation any, and now one of her lifelines is cut off. They were very close to one another. The ways in which I treated them differently were because they were different. The type of conversational approach that was very effective with my daughter would shut my son down. The things she was interested in were very different from his interests. Their strengths had some overlap, but there were some areas where one outshined the other, and vice versa. That's just parenting. You can't treat all your kids exactly the same. Commenter 4 says, I'd like to hear the daughter's side of the story. Hope replied, honestly, me too. She denied not taking her medication when I had the full bottles in my hand. She denied the vapes as I held them. She denied the burner phones as I held a broken one that I, again, found in her room. I want to hear the story she is telling herself, because then maybe I could understand and find a way to reach her. I would give anything to know what she is thinking. Commenter 5 says, yeah, it sounds like you're leaving out some major chunks of her story. You sound like my estranged father, clueless and always the victim. Hope replied, I don't know. I left out some personal things about her I didn't want to share because they're her things to tell, not mine. They don't really make any of this make sense, though. Maybe I am clueless. It's very possible. I have asked everyone around me that knew us. No one understands it, but there is always the possibility that I'm not understanding something fundamental about her. Commenter says, yeah, you sound like most parents when their kids have had enough of your shit. Of course you don't know, and I'm sure that's a major reason she's running as fast as she can from you. Because you won't ever know. Sorry to be cruel, but you probably need to hear this. Hope replied, okay, I have gone back and gone over my behavior 1,000 times, trying to understand what it could be. I don't know what my shit might have been. I guess wanting her to attend class, wanting her to graduate high school, wanting her to have some kind of future plan. I am definitely blaming myself. Opie explained that her son checked on his sister. Hope replied, her brother did check on her. They got into a huge fight over it, and he told her she was being selfish and he didn't want to see her again until she made things right with the family. I had begged him to please leave that door open, but I think he was just too angry. I keep asking him to unblock and reach out again. Opie explained that trying to understand what was going on made her feel worse. Hope replied, I really do welcome being challenged on this, because I truly don't understand how it happened. But yeah, some of the folks here aren't being very kind. That's okay. If I didn't know me, I'd assume I did something horrible too. That's just the problem. I didn't. So none of this makes sense. Commenter 6 says, sometimes parents think they're being good parents, but instead from the kids' lens, they're being intrusive and oppressive. Your lens. Her lens. It doesn't make sense through your lens. Happens a lot. I'm so sorry you're living through this, but you may need to do a bit of work if you want to truly understand this. Hope replied, I was already in therapy, and I've been going twice a week since she left. I'm really trying to understand it. Opie was asked if she had been strict with her daughter and whether she allowed her to date at 17. Hope replied, I don't really think so. Her curfew was midnight. She was allowed to go wherever with whomever. I didn't police her movements or activities. I just checked her grades and held her accountable when she skipped school. I don't know. She's always been allowed to date. I asked her the same thing myself. I would have been happy for her to have him in the house, in her room. I wouldn't interfere or do anything weird or anything like that. She often said she thought she might be asexual up until introducing me to her boyfriend. I'm not sure why she didn't prior. I was just happy she chose to when she did. Opie discussed her daughter's vaping and obeying the law. Hope replied, vaping here is illegal until you are 21. I'm worried about her health, obviously, but also lying about it even when evidence was presented. I mentioned the number to substantiate that it wasn't a one-time thing. I guess on this, I just fundamentally disagree with you that vaping and lying about it is a non-issue. Of course, I want my daughter to be law-abiding. I don't think I'd be a very good parent if that wasn't a priority of mine. Also, I never said she was demonic or irredeemable. I didn't even mean to imply that. I'm not sure how you got that from my post, but it's not how I feel at all. I also mentioned her health, the biggest concern, and the lying, but you're dying on the hill that vaping is not a problem. So therefore, I am a controlling monster. Okay, I am not going to change your mind. I encourage you to quit vaping, though, because it is truly bad for your health. Opie was asked about her children's father and whether he was in the picture. Hope replied, he's been out of the picture since they were 1 and 2. He had drug addiction problems and was struggling with homelessness. I told him I would abide by any court-ordered visitation, which he has the right to file for as he signed a ROP, but he never did that. He just disappeared. I heard from him fewer than 5 times through their whole childhood. I never filed for child support. It kind of felt like an unspoken agreement. I never file for support. He never files for visitation. We didn't agree to it specifically or anything, but that's how it worked out. OP discussed making parenting changes to help repair her relationship with her daughter. OP replied, "Hey, thanks for sharing your own experience and being so kind about the feedback you're giving. I really appreciate it. I can definitely see that some of what you're saying is true for my daughter, and the way you put it helped make me understand how I can try to change my behavior to get a different outcome. I really appreciate that. I don't really do a lot of intentional consequences here. Natural consequences usually are enough. The most I'd ever do is assign some chores like cleaning a bathroom. I don't do grounding, taking away phones, that kind of thing. I don't think someone's personal freedom should be affected by one mistake. I think I've been supportive of her, but after reading what you've said, I think I can be more. I think I could be more outwardly approving. I always try to give her, like 5 pieces of positive feedback for every one negative, but the negatives still always seem to hit her so hard. I can find a way to help her feel a little more supported and encourage honesty more. Thanks again for your feedback. I found it really helpful. Maybe the most helpful thing I've read on this thread so far. Update, over 2.5 months later. I kind of doubt anyone who saw the original will see this update, but I did receive a few direct messages as well as a lot of comments on the initial post, so I wanted to give an update now, 3 months later, as there have been significant developments. I did see her once about 3 weeks after she left when she came to the house to get some of her belongings. This exchange did not go particularly well in that we did not come to any understanding about the situation. No more harsh words were exchanged, but we both expressed disappointment in each other, and it was a very difficult conversation for me. She left after telling me she just needed some time to sort her life out. She did ice us out of her graduation entirely. It was a secure event, so without tickets from the graduate, we were not able to attend. The graduation dinner we had planned went on as scheduled, as it had been paid for. We just didn't mention her and focused on another family occasion that occurred in the vicinity of the graduation event. It was horrible. I watched the footage of the ceremony on YouTube when it was posted by the school. She did graduate successfully. I was very happy to see that. I can say without a doubt that these were some of the most painful days of my life. My son reached out to her to apologize for his reaction about a month after she left. This was much of my urging, but also something he said he needed to do because he had said some things to her in the heat of his anger that he did not truly mean or feel. At the time, she did not reply, but she did re-add him on social media. So he was able to kind of keep up with her a bit that way. Her best friend from school reached out to me at the beginning of July to say she was worried that my daughter had fallen into a bad crowd from the amusement park she worked at. She was drinking and doing drugs, staying out late at night, walking home alone in dangerous areas. I reached out to my child again when I heard this, not to tell her I knew anything, but to tell her I thought she must be getting tired of not having a safe place with space of her own, and that I still missed her and would welcome her home with an eye towards moving forward rather than rehashing old hurts. I messaged her many times, nearly daily, honestly, letting her know that I loved her and wanted her to come home, asking her what I could do, if anything, to help her. She said she didn't read many of my messages when they came in, but when she started thinking that she wanted to come home, she read a lot of them, so many times. She said the messages eventually gave her the courage to reach out to let me know she was sorry. She had made mistakes and wanted to come home. She did just that a couple weeks ago. She told me she was sorry, wanted me to help her get on the right path and return home. I said yes, and she came back. Things have been a little up and down, but she is here. She is getting the help she needs. She is safe. She is working to reconcile with her other family members. I hope we can continue moving forward in a healthy way, and I've engaged therapy for our whole family as well. I guess I just wanted to share that it took a while, but I kept the door open, kept hoping and reaching out, and she eventually came home. Concluding comment. Commenter says, "You did good. Sometimes children want to act grown, but are uncaring and ignorant of the consequences. She has learned some important lessons, I hope." Hope replied, "I think and hope she did. Never a dull day as a parent." The second story is from Relationships subreddit. It was posted by deleted user and was titled, "He's the love of my life, but I, 27 female, Don't know if I can handle the demands of my chef boyfriend's 26 male career. My boyfriend and I have been through some trying times over the past 4 years, and through it all we've been each other's support. We complement each other so well. Long story short, he's the love of my life. When we first met, he was unemployed after recently quitting his job as an EMT. He said he was unsatisfied because he didn't feel like it was for him and was searching for direction. He mentioned before that he's always had a passion for cooking, so I urged him to follow his gut and do what would bring him happiness. I encouraged him to enroll in culinary school. Since then, he's moved up quickly, and after graduating and 2 years in the industry, he opened a hot new restaurant as sous chef. He's really come alive since switching industries. He's got this fiery energy, this sparkle in his eyes when talking about the action in the kitchen, new recipes he's come up with, or dreams of opening his own restaurant. I'm extremely proud of his accomplishments, and seeing this amazing passion he has for what he does makes me love him even more. He inspires me to follow my dreams. The thing is, I had no idea how demanding his career would be. I've never worked in the restaurant industry, and I've never personally met another chef before I started dating one. He works crazy hours, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. We don't live together, and I only see him for a few hours on the weekends when I can stay up late. Half that time we're asleep because it's 3 in the morning. I'm sleepy and he's exhausted. He's got 1 day off a week, if that, which is pretty much the only time he has to relax, catch up with family, friends, and me. I'm a 9 to 5, and I'm asleep by the time he gets off work. I speak to him twice a day if I'm lucky. Once in the morning, which is a rushed 5-minute conversation since I'm at work, and once in the evening when he gets off work, which I hardly even remember because I'm asleep and only half conscious. We can't text while he's working, which is all the time. He works every holiday. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day are all busy restaurant days. Birthdays and anniversaries are not guaranteed off either. Through it all, I've been super supportive. I gotten kind of used to him not being around. I've taken up yoga and kickboxing and have started reading way more books and watching way more movies. I've even kind of gotten used to going to parties and events alone. Most days are okay. I keep myself so busy with friends and hobbies that I sometimes forget I miss him so much. But other days are horrible. Yesterday, he told me he made plans to see his friends in the evening when they got off work. After we hung up, I broke down in tears because I've been looking forward to seeing him all week. But I can't even be mad. It's his only free day, and it's not fair for me to take up all his time. We hardly ever have sex. There's just no time and no energy. When we do spend time together on those rare Mondays, we don't go out because he's so tired. I cherish these moments just cuddled up on the couch because they don't happen often. I don't speak to him about my feelings of loneliness because I don't want to burden him with my emotions on his sole day of relaxation, especially since that's just the nature of the industry and he can't do anything about it. This is the guy I want to grow old with and have babies with. He's the one with whom I want to share the future. But then I think about how I feel on days like today, and I wonder if his career will ever allow him to be present. Am I okay with eating every meal and spending every holiday alone? Can I take on the responsibilities of the household and raising children essentially like a single parent? Can I deal with him only being home long enough to sleep? We're planning on moving in together within the next 6 months. I'm not sure if this will help our relationship or just prolong the inevitable. Maybe both. It's been tough, and I know it will only get tougher. I love him so much, but I don't know if I'm strong enough. I have to figure out what it is I need, and I'm terrified at the thought that maybe he can't give it to me. Just thinking about leaving him over the career I pushed him toward makes me feel sick to my stomach. Relevant comments. Dab Jordan 27 says, being a chef is a really demanding job with long hours and few breaks. I can completely understand how being in a relationship with one would have some difficult problems associated with it. One thing that worries me is this. I don't speak to him about my feelings of loneliness because I don't want to burden him with my emotions on his sole day of relaxation, especially since that's just the nature of the industry and he can't do anything about it. Everyone can do something about it when things like this happen. He may be viewing this as putting in his time at the beginning of the career so that he can be more flexible in the future. Breaking up with him without first communicating with him and trying to figure out a compromise is premature. I know these things can seem obvious, but the extent of them and their consequences are often not things you can recognize without the other person bringing them up. Talk to him. He may already have a plan for transitioning out of the 70 to 80-hour weeks, or at least be open to coming up with one. Hope replied, "I've brought this up to him before, just not every time I'm upset. It always ends with him saying, 'I'm sorry, but this is how it's going to be. Can you handle that?' He did say that things are extra crazy because he's putting in his time and opening a new restaurant, but essentially being a chef means long hours and little time for us." Opie replied to a longer comment about a boyfriend who worked non-stop, chefs who take substances, and ultimately burn out. Hope replied, "Most of the time we have together is spent sleeping. I take what I can get, but I'm having a hard time convincing myself that it's enough. My boyfriend is already on the caffeine and nicotine. I've just started to realize what it would mean for our relationship and future family if he was to stay in the industry, which he plans to. I think I've been blinded by the glamour of it all. My boyfriend is an awesome chef, the restaurant is so good, etc., that I haven't realized what his career has been doing to our relationship. Thanks for your response. I've got some hard questions to ask." Update 4 days later. Not sure how many people have seen my previous post, but I figured I'd cater to those who commented and seemed to genuinely care about our situation. We finally had our much-needed conversation last night. I felt horrible for bringing up such heavy topics right after he came home from work, stressed and exhausted, but it's the only time we ever have. I asked him the big questions. What's your 5-year career plan? Can you realistically work in a kitchen for the rest of your life? Is that what you really want? And at the mention of working in a kitchen for the rest of his life, behind eyelids drooping with exhaustion and the dark bags under them, came the sparkle and fire that I adore and feared would appear during this conversation. I want to run my own kitchen. I want to own my own restaurant. I'm making a name for myself, and people are noticing. I want this, and I know I can do it. I asked him if he realized what that meant in terms of raising a family, which he always said he wanted. He said it would stay like this: 12 to 16-hour shifts every day, getting home after midnight. His head hung down, and he told me we could make it work. I can have breakfast with the family every morning and take the kids to school, he suggested. I told him I needed more from a partner. I want a normal life. I want to have dinner every night as a family. I want to read to our kids together at night. I want holidays and birthdays. He told me he can't give me any of that. I was hoping and praying the entire time that he would reformulate his career path. Maybe set his eyes on a comparable goal that would make a home life possible. But there's no comparison. After hours of talking, we realized this just wouldn't work. If we stayed together, either I would resent him for never being around, or he would resent me for making him give up his dream. I would never strip him of that. This is the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. I almost wish he was an abusive, cheating asshole. It would make moving on way easier. But no, he's wonderful and has always been so good to me. We're very much in love, and that's what makes this whole thing so horrible. I never envisioned a future without him, and he said he always thought he'd be sharing life's successes with me. I wish I could be the one standing next to him through it all, but I'm just not cut out for the life he's offering me. And although I'm glad we figured out our incompatibilities before marriage and children, I'm devastated. Sorry for the diary entry, Reddit. Thanks for reading. Final comments. Ian Z says, "My dad worked in a restaurant business for most of his life, and it was hard on all of us. As a little girl, I used to wait up in bed until 1 or 2 in the morning until I heard him come home. Then I would pretend that something woke me up so I could go and hang out with him and watch TV for 30 minutes or so before bed. Things with him and my mom were always strained because they never saw each other. And he resented her because she has never been great at housework, and he worked his ass off all week, and then on his day or 2 off still had to do the bulk of the laundry and other housework. I've never been close to him just because he was never there. He tried his best. He coached my little brother's soccer team, holding practices on his day off, and the games were weekend mornings before work. He helped me when I ran cross-country by running with me in the mornings. He never was really able to take all the time off for our family vacations. He would have to come a couple days late or leave a couple days early. He had to drive over to our Christmas Eve family celebration separately because he had to finish up at work first. He's in his late 50s, nearing retirement. He's been out of the kitchen and in higher level jobs, usually the manager or general manager, for probably the last 20 years, and it's still like this. It's just the nature of the business. If you want the traditional family experience, you did the right thing by getting out now. One of my close friends has a husband who is a chef, and it is already straining their relationship severely after only a year or so of marriage. Hope replied, I've read so many similar stories of a willing, but overall absent chef dad. Responses like yours help me realize that this isn't what I want for my family, and what his career would realistically do to our home life. I just wish it didn't have to be like this. Hope added, thanks for sharing your experience. I would hate to have to wait until retirement to be happy. I want to enjoy my family every moment possible. I realize now that my now ex is eager to spend his life building something he's proud of, which is so admirable, but is willing to miss many of those moments. I just came to the realization that I need more of a family man. I never knew that's what I was looking for until very recently. He always said he wanted a family. I just didn't know he wanted his career more. It stings because I see now he chose the kitchen over me. But I guess that's life, and I just need to learn to accept it. Edit. Thank you to everyone for the kind words and for sharing their own personal experiences with me. The more I read, the more I know this breakup had to happen in order for us both to be happy with our lives down the line. I really appreciate the support I've received here for a little heartbroken me. I never anticipated that Reddit would help me heal.